Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Council of One's Babylon 5 review. And with me today, I've got my fellow council members, Mountains of Elysium, Fiona Wolf, and Classic Comics, and Zod Rider should be here. Zod, if you can hear me, we're going to go ahead and get going without you, bud, but get in here as soon as you can if you're able. And today, we are discussing And Now a Word. And this is a very, very intriguing episode, to be sure. But before we get started, how's everybody doing? Has everybody recovered from Happy Turkey Day? Well, for those of us that celebrate it.
We're going to cook a second turkey soon because the first one we got wasn't big enough. I don't care. I'm going to buy it. We're going to cook another one.
Yeah, I'm pretty much recovered now.
Right on. Well, I know me and the ambassadorial family, we had a good time. We ate turkey, we ate pumpkin pie, and all those yummy, delicious things that you have on Thanksgiving. And we just had a good time. We watched Home Alone. We watched a couple other things, and then we all collapsed into a food coma.
I put Die Hard on before I had to go to work that day. It's like, here, Merry Christmas, everybody. Almost.
We watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Nice. Yeah. I guess you could consider that kind of, well, one way or another, we all watched a John Hughes movie because John Hughes produced Home Alone and John Hughes wrote and directed Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's about them trying to get home for Thanksgiving. That's what the whole plot is.
Was it about Thanksgiving or was it Christmas? I can't remember.
Thanksgiving.
Was it Thanksgiving? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, we watch that just about every year.
Yeah, that's actually one of the few Thanksgiving-themed movies that's around, except for Charlie Brown.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah. John Hughes was a genius. He created a movie centered around the one holiday that nobody really focuses on all that much. So, John Hughes, wherever you are, resting in peace, thank you very much. But getting on topic, Babylon 5, And Now a Word. And this, before we get started, Elysium brought up a very interesting point. This episode actually takes place on September 16th, 2259. And, well, that's like 4 days after my birth. Well, yeah, technically 4 days after my birthday, but it's right around yours, isn't it, Elysium?
Yeah, 2 days after, and they never mentioned anything. I mean, I feel gutted.
I feel just so disrespected, and I'm just gonna cancel Babylon 5. Not.
Oh, I guess to dig at our own media. Hey, the fictional media in this episode was a lot more on the point.
You think?
Yeah, but also to showcase when that other media team comes on after they break away because of Clark. Well, that's the media I'm familiar with.
Yeah. But this episode has got a lot of interesting stuff going on in it, and we can jump in wherever you all want to. So I open the floor.
I think it's funny how it ties back to even that episode where Sinclair was doing the interview of like how Babylon 5 can be helpful, and this news crew shows up when the Narn and Centauri thing is getting really heated, and it's like, oh wait, God, they shot at each other with the whole entire thing filled with civilians right next door to them. Oh,
Fiona,
oops,
you did it again.
Yes,
it's Sheridan, not Sinclair.
No, Sinclair did have an episode like that in the first season, though, where like they kind of interviewed him, like what Babylon 5 is important for, like towards the end. But I don't think it was a news crew. I think it was that thing where they were sharing the different religions and why Babylon 5 was needed. But it kind of ties into this in a strange way.
They had that really annoying reporter in episode in the first season that Ivanova pretty much threatened to kill when she hauled her off of the.
But it just showcases like when the news was there when Sinclair was there versus when the news was there when Sheridan was there, and the war kind of just putting a monkey wrench into that.
You think?
I think that back in the 70s, MASH had an episode that was kind of this same format where it's
I think you're
basically a reporter basically doing kind of a documentary about the MASH unit and how it operates and all that. And they, it's broken up with interview segments with the various characters on the show and everything.
Yeah.
And I think on the commentary, I believe, or maybe it's not the commentary, but it seems like I remember hearing or reading somewhere that's where Straczynski got the idea for this.
And that's a possibility. And you know what? This is one of those instances where you've got a writer drawing inspiration from a previous form of media. And just real quick to the chat, Ensign Ricky, good afternoon and happy Black Friday. Hopefully, for those of you that either work in retail or ventured out into the wild regions of Black Friday sales, you came out relatively unscathed, and glad you all are here this afternoon and everything to take a break from your Black Friday binge and what have you. But yeah, I think the really interesting thing is the reporter in this episode is I want to say she's a lot more fair and a lot more, I hate to use this cliche. She's much more fair and even-handed. We'll say it that way. She isn't trying to pigeonhole anybody. She's trying to do what a good reporter should do and
you mean it's not outright propaganda like the one that comes in season 3?
Yes, exactly. With the guy that comes on board, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although for me, I see her one step closer to propaganda because a lot of while she is much more balanced, does ask good questions, she is still very much on the Clark side, asking, almost poisoning the well a little. Kind of, do we need Babylon 5? Yeah, we do for now. And I'm starting to see like more of the Clark thing coming true, though we do see later in other episodes ISN when Clark tries to take them down, they haven't gone far enough.
Yeah, because the one announcer was like, there's things we haven't been able to tell you, and he tries to get some stuff out and then they get cut off. And then once everything's reestablished, the one anchor is like, it's been a very long time since we've been on the air, because she's also including all the propaganda portion. So
well, and that's the great thing about this episode, because it gives you a nice contrast to compare what we'll get eventually in season 3 with what's here. And I will say the whole situation between the Narn and Centauri was a good plot device for this episode, for the simple fact that it shows everybody trying to work within the situation of being interviewed and this report and everything, and actually ISN doing a decent job of reporting what's going on without offering any real clear bias, which I thought was a good touch.
Yeah, all the stuff was... Sorry.
No, I just thought of something. You know how a few episodes ago, Delenn was looking at like the USA, or not the USA, but the Universe Today stuff, and like, often your people will tell me things about my people before I even know it. And then with this one, she's very hesitant to go on screen because she has a feeling of what might happen, and boy, does it happen. Ouch.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. I mean, the reporter, Cynthia Torkman, I think was her name, if I remember correctly. She did a good job at interviewing Delenn. Thought she went a little hard on her, but I think in this particular instance, the hard edge, or maybe the biting edge of her interview was warranted, because she was expressing ideas and feelings that were, in a lot of ways, still quite relevant. Because you have both Sheridan and you have the Senator Quantrill talking about how much time has passed since the end of the Earth Minbari War. It's been roughly 14 years. 14 years, if you think about it, really isn't that. It does seem like a lot of time, but for people that lost family and seeing Delenn on camera and everything, after she's gone through her transformation, I think what Torkman said, while I can understand how Delenn could become emotionally overwrought, I can also understand where Torkman's coming from for her point of view, because you can look at what Delenn did as almost a slap in the face. Guys, your thoughts on that?
Sorry, Fiona, fire away.
Well, the only thing I'd like to say, I guess, is just because she's already gotten so much, gruff from her own people, that she really does wants to try to be a bridge, but it also can play into the fact that she was the primary instigator of, like, kill them all,
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that's I think the poignant thing about it is, I mean, obviously Delenn has changed since then, and she's not the same person she was necessarily when Kot died and she was calling for, a holy war. But at the same time, a lot of humans were killed in that war, and she was kind of responsible. So, I think that's part of what makes the scene so effective, is that there is something there is an element of truth or accuracy to sort of the accusations that she's making to Delenn. And Delenn knows it.
Oh boy, does she ever.
I actually found this, it was a good point for looking at bias, because those questions the reporter asked, they were fair and they were legitimate questions that should have been asked. But I found myself going, hang on, I like Delenn. She's a character I care for. And I'm going, well, that's like a slap in the face for her. And I kind of found myself sympathizing and then getting riled up and not ignoring the questions that needed to be asked. It did raise, for me, realizing that, you know what, I'm open to being biased, that you have to be able, as a free press, should be able to ask those questions. And I found myself going, no, she shouldn't ask those questions. They're hurtful. There's character I like. And I'm going, do you know what I'm saying? That it's, for me, it raised a really good point that the press should be free.
Yeah.
Despite my fees.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Fiona, we'll get to that little plot point in a little bit. But, it was really interesting to look at the different situations. Well, okay, primarily the situation of the issue between G'Kar and Londo through the sphere, or through the lens, rather, of the media. And this reporter's just trying to get at what's going on between these two people and everything, or these two races. And you've got two very... I almost want to say that Londo is being just, I think, a little bit deceptive, or maybe just a little bit two-faced when he's being interviewed by Torkman and ISN. What do y'all think about that, or do you think he was being genuine?
I think it's because his people come from they were the aggressor initially, at least is the way it's painted. So he probably feels like he has to be more on the defensive with certain things. At least that's my 2 bits.
I kind of feel both him and G'Kar were being politicians. I could see what G'Kar, he didn't know, Londo didn't know, but they were trying to present to the reporter, present the face that, oh, we know what's going on. No, of course we had nothing to do with it. Of course we're innocent, without knowing the full facts. And the backstory, I think Londo knew he was putting the flowery spin on things.
Oh yeah, he knows.
And G'Kar has legitimate reasons. He played up how brutal it was. So they're both trying to win over the hearts and minds of Earth by presenting, oh, it wasn't that bad. We tried to civilize savages. And the other side, they were savages to us. They turned us from a peaceful people into savages.
But then there's also the thing that G'Kar will experience later through Kosh. Like, and who will stop all the violence? What is going to stop the cycle of people killing people until there's nothing left?
Yeah.
To be fair, sorry.
No, go ahead, Elysium, please.
I was saying, to be fair to G'Kar, he was mentioning, and I can't remember what point in the episode, that he was talking about the war with the Centauri, but he did say there's bigger problems. He is becoming aware.
We're all in greater danger than anyone knows, or some words to that effect.
Yep. And right now, hardly anybody believes him, but kind of like what Delenn has to face later, is like we had to choose between the death of millions and the death of billions. It's like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking for myself, I think to see through this episode the progression of G'Kar's character, who goes from very headstrong and very forceful to at the end he's got his reservations, he's got his doubts, and he doesn't know exactly what to think or feel about the whole situation. And just very quick to the chat, Beer31, good evening to you as well. Hope you had a good day, and thank you for tuning in tonight or this afternoon, wherever you're at. And Fanny, you can say this you can say this out loud. You don't have to keep putting stuff in the comment in the chat.
Well, no, it's because I have to leave like in 3 minutes, so I'm leaving some pertinent quotes.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. What do I hope for? I hope to get through this interview without getting fired. How's that for a start?
For Mr. Garibaldi, I'd be in his boat. If you put me in front of her interview, I'd be so blunt to the point that I'd probably get fired from someplace.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can hop into the different interviews or anything throughout the episode or anything if y'all want to, and anything we can break those down. I mean, we got Sheridan, we got Franklin, we got Garibaldi, we got Ivanova. Okay, can I just say it? I got tired of hearing the reporter pronounce her last name incorrectly. It's not Ivanova, it's Ivanova. She's Russian. She's very, very Russian.
I actually took that as a meaning, and when I was looking at Torquemada, her name comes from the one of the leaders of the Spanish Inquisition. That's where they got her name from.
Torquemada?
Torquemada, yeah. And when I was listening to her mispronounce the name, I took it as, I'm reporting the facts, but I'm putting my spin on things. I took that mispronunciation as part of that she's saying, well, this is what I think, this is my name. And it was done deliberate, but probably in character. She had been reading the name rather than listening to the name. So she was looking at a couple of facts without digging. Ivanova. Yes.
I hadn't thought of the name there, the Torquemada connection. That's good.
And very quickly to the chat, Mr. Brian Hill, Master of None. We'll get to that tonight, my friend. Rest assured. That's later. That's much, much later. We're talking Babylon 5 right now, but thank you for being here regardless. But, okay. Elysium, you opened the door, so this is all your fault. Torquemada, do not ask him for compassion. Torquemada, do not beg him for mercy. Torquemada, do not ask him for understanding. Let's face it, you can't talk about anything.
There you go.
Mel Brooks, History of the World Part 1, The Spanish Inquisition.
Well, I started Sheridan Sinclair, and I've started this. What have I done?
Hang your head in eternal shame.
Oh, yes.
I'm kidding, of course.
Oh, man. But yeah, now that I think about it, the next interview when the guy is trying to say, oh, look, we have to pass along all this information, but we have to spruce it up for them back home. And Sheridan knew that they were going to totally butcher it. It's like, do you have a new human memory breeding program? Like, what?
What?
That's all I just remember.
What do you know? What?
Well, no, yes, like the whole setup it just shows how the press can be a force for something decent in terms of information, and also like what you currently have now. Like, yeah, that's how I look at it. And all the only true information Sheridan got out of it in the next season was that his father was on the run and missing, and the authorities were trying to find him, because that guy at the very end says yes, and while such and such on the other end, and David Sheridan's still on the run, and it's like, oh, that's the one bit of true information you were able to give me, thanks. And it's depressing. Ah.
Yeah. And just real quick to the chat, LDG Pixels and Islam Brookholder. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. And LDG, congratulations on getting your new chair. I think we all say happy, happy, joy, joy. So, but yeah. Go
So I
ahead,
was just
Lisa.
thinking there, one of the best interviews I saw was David Corwin getting his interview with Ivanova, basically sitting on his shoulder and
man.
looking into the back of his head.
It's
And
like,
this is the first time Corwin's named, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
that's yeah.
it's a pleasant working environment.
I never see
Please don't kill
anyone
me,
getting
please don't kill
angry.
me. Please don't kill me.
And you could just you almost want to, it's almost like Leslie Nielsen in Airplane, where his nose is growing and growing, and Corbin, you're a big fat liar,
Yes,
but you're doing it to save your skin, so we forgive you. So
yes. Especially
But-
since I think Ivanova's one of the lines she said standing next to him, "I'll rip off your head and use it as a chamber pot" to Mr. Grey in a couple of episodes ago.
yes. Well, and I think one of my favorite. Well, I had like 2 or 3 favorite reviews. I thought they were all good, but I think one of my favorites was actually with Franklin. Anything y'all's thoughts on that?
Yes.
And if you want to go first, because we know you've got to leave soon.
Yeah, I would say it showcases that Franklin, regardless of what the person's creed or everything else is, he prioritizes healing people, and that's what he cares
Yes.
about the most.
Mhm. I would agree with that.
That led to his trouble in that one Believers, where he took his healing above
Mhm.
as religious, and
Yeah.
I think he becomes more religious because of that with his with foundationism.
Well, and the other really interesting thing for me with Franklin is when he's talking about people making the joke about spacing someone they don't like, and he actually tells that story about that good friend, and you see it in his eyes. I'll say this for
Stephen Biggs.
Stephen Biggs. Thank you, Classic. Yeah, the guy was a top-notch actor, and it's just a shame he didn't get to work on more stuff. But just in that particular moment, you really feel you really feel he's like, I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny at all.
Yeah, he was very good at intensity, and at conveying Franklin's
Yes.
passion for his beliefs and all that. He was very good at that.
Yeah, I would agree. And Fiona, we know you've got to go, and you have good night, ma'am, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, I'll see how many couponers I have to battle tonight. See you
Well,
later.
and if you're not too exhausted, stop by because I'll be up late tonight. So
Okay then. See you later.
see you.
Take care.
And she's like, I'll leave with this comment because Delenn knows sovereign rights of any race and when they threaten innocent lives. Yeah, and we can get to Delenn's interview here in a few minutes and everything as well. I mean, I know we've kind of touched on it and everything, but if there's anything else we want to go over. But, Garibaldi's interview was particularly interesting, unless there's something else with Franklin's that you fellas want to touch upon.
No, I think it showcased Franklin pretty well. He was, although from what I've seen, Franklin, you can see already the stress he's under that leads to the STEM, because she did mention that all the med labs, not just one, are working beyond capacity, and that was even before the battle outside the station. So Franklin is coming under real stress, and you see him on camera basically shoving her out of the way, get out of the way, I'm treating people.
Yeah.
And then they're
like,
basically burned out from, he does a spacing thing because his mind is just, death, destruction, misery.
Yeah, anything like that. Well, the other interview that I really got a lot out of, particularly in the last part and everything of it, was Sheridan's interview with Torkman, and all the little snippets when he's in negotiations and they're there in the council chamber with the council and the League of Unaligned Worlds and so on. It really showed the various aspects once again of Sheridan's character, and I really dug that. But I want to get your thoughts, fellas.
So, yeah, Sheridan for me always is honest, and I think the way he described his father was a diplomat, and I think he probably learned a lot from him. And I'd like to think that a lot of politicians portrayed in this show have not been the best. The senator in this episode is on a par with the what was his name? Tally Winter's husband. You felt like kind of wiping the screen after.
Yes.
But Sheridan does what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
And I've seen Ivanova trying to reel him back in on a few occasions, even during the interview where you drag them in, and if they don't come, and she's like, camera.
Yeah.
And then he then politely asked them to, and Ivanova tapping, nodding their head and saying, yeah, that's the correct way to say it. Now watch what you're saying. Sheridan wears his heart in his sleeve.
Yeah.
Well, I liked the exchange between the reporter and Sheridan when he's talking. She mentions that there are some people who feel Babylon 5 isn't necessary, and also I forget exactly what was said, but basically about how the war should have been fought differently, or we shouldn't have let it in there, or something to that effect. And Sheridan kind of gets riled up, and he mentions, basically, after every war, you'll always have people coming out saying how, who are armchair quarterbacks, saying it should have been done this way. We would have won the war if we'd done this, that, and the other. But I love when he says, they would have said that we could have won the war, and then she says, but we did win the war. We did win the war. They surrendered, and he's like, oh yeah, right.
Well, and Bureau 31 brings up the fact that Hidoshi is no longer a senator. I'm guessing Quantrell took over his place. So, and I think we all know that Quantrell is a little bit of a lapdog for Clark. So, but there was actually one part in particular. It's actually one of the last things that Sheridan says in the episode, and I liked it. So I actually wrote it down. I had to write a little because I had the closed captions going, and I had to pause because he says it so quickly. But he says this, and it really resonated with me on a lot of levels, and we can go from there on this. The purpose of Babylon 5 is not to enforce the peace, but to create the peace. And this place was built on the assumption that we could work out our problems and build a better future. In the last few years, we stumbled. We stumbled at the death of the president, the war, and on and on. And when you stumble a lot, you start looking at your feet. Now, we have to make people lift their eyes back to the horizon and see the line of ancestors behind us saying, make my life have meaning. And to our inheritors before us saying, create the world we will live in. We're not just holding down jobs and having dinner. We are in the process of building the future. That's what Babylon 5 is all about. Only by making people understand that we can hope, only by making people understand that, can we hope to create a better world for ourselves and our posterity. And, Sheridan has a few poignant moments throughout this series and everything, from seasons 2 to 5. But I think this is one of his best pieces of dialogue, this particular monologue at the end of the episode.
Yeah,
And-
it's pretty good.
And that's actually a good way to live your life. Like,
Mhm.
live your life kind of as if it matters, because so many have sacrificed to get you where you are. And those who come after you leave the world a little better. And you mightn't be able to, but if we all made the effort.
Mhm.
And what I like about Sheridan is he's doing that. He's just speaking what he does. That's how he behaves. He tries to create the better. And he's an honest, great character. And what, like, his speech there is
Mhm.
his entire arc for the 4 seasons.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, you're right. I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
But he's also not afraid to use the stick.
No, he's not. He is not afraid to poke somebody in the chest and say, "Get off your butt and do your share." And well, next season he does that, particularly with Kosh. And well, we'll come to that when we come to that. But you don't hear dialogue much like that anymore. I think and some people y'all may disagree with me on this, but I think the closest parallel that comes to mind of recent movies or TV shows that came out was the holographic message left behind by Tony Stark that he made for his daughter and for his friends. Now, some of you may disagree and say, Ambassador, that's a bad take, but I think honestly I think those two particular pieces of dialogue, those two monologues, really do kind of echo a similar sentiments in a lot of ways. And as our good friend Fiona says so often, I know Zog would probably agree with this, we need that type of writing again. We need that kind of storytelling again, and we're slowly starting to get it little by little, bit by bit. But it just takes an open mind and an open ear to hear it. So, anything that you fellas want to elaborate off what I just said?
No, I agree. A lot of modern TV is stepped away from the hopeful and gone to pushing agendas rather than let's create a world for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of today is let's create a world for me.
Yeah, rather than
my thoughts, my mind. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it is just so nihilistic, for lack of a better term.
I think that's not a bad term.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, though.
And it's beyond just being dark or edgy, but it seeks to deconstruct whether it's, just pretty much society, whether it's the family or it's traditional gender roles or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that current media or current entertainment isn't completely bereft of good storytelling, but it's in pockets. And it's hard to find that at times. And Babylon 5 is one of those pockets from the not too distant past that exemplified positive storytelling. And speaking of positivity, positive candor, good afternoon, sir. Good to see you, and thank you for coming by. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, my friend. But getting back on the episode a little bit more to the point, the whole situation between the Narn and the Centauri. Let me ask you, gentlemen, do you think there was any way that this situation could have come out better than it did, or do you think it came out as good as it did, as it could have, considering the circumstances and the parties involved?
As far as the conflict between the Narn and the Centauri?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably about as well as it could have.
Yep. And I did like the fact that Sheridan didn't hold back. He kind of said, "All right, you're putting people's lives at risk," and he basically took the Narn and the Centauri and beat them.
Yeah, in
And
essence. Go ahead.
I did also like that Londo then threatening the station, saying, "Right, we have a Centauri warship. We're threatening you." And Sheridan said, "Nah, we've got to stick to, and we're prepared to. Any attack on us is basically an act of aggression, and we will fire on you."
hmm
And he got the Centauri to back down. Now, had the Narn not got involved, it would have ended peacefully, and probably with the Centauri going, "Okay, we won't do that again."
I think you're right. I know we're kind of doing what Sheridan detests, and that's armchair quarterbacking. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I think you're right, Elysium. If the Narn hadn't been so bloody hot-headed and sent one of their ships in, and something that Torkman said during the interview with Jacquard that I found very interesting was the fact, well, y'all are pretty much holding action and forced retreat. You're not really winning, and well, we kind of know why the Narns aren't winning, because a certain shadow group is kicking the ever-loving stuffing out of the Narn. So, but you really get a gauge of just how bad things are, because, well, it's kind of like what I think Fiona said before she had to leave, when Delenn was talking to Sheridan. She was like, I learned about the news from my people before I get it from them. And the fact that EarthGov and ISN knows how badly the war is going for the Narn really says something about how much more effective our news is compared to the Narn. Of course, they're busy trying to fight a war. We're just reporting on it. So there is a little bit of a difference there. So, but
one thing, as I was thinking about knowing the news, I think, like I mentioned earlier, Londo and Jacquard do not know what's going on outside the station, because I think the Narn just attacked a Centauri ship, and it just happened to look out and have the weapons of mass destruction, which what we see in a few episodes' time, mass drivers, fusion bombs. It's nasty foreshadowing.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because go ahead, Elysium.
No. Actually, I was just going to make you fire away. I have to reformat my thought anyway.
Okay. Well, the other thing I will say is it does foreshadow the bombardment of the Narn homeworld, and something that Londo says, and I think he's actually being somewhat sincere here, is the fact that he doesn't like seeing the loss of life and seeing Earth Force or EarthGov being entangled in their conflict. And I think that's what a good ambassador or a good politician or a good representative of a different race or a different nation would actually want. Well, for one thing, if Earth Force really got involved, they would probably figure out pretty damn quick, y'all are using forces that we ain't never seen before, and where the heck are they coming from? But at the same time,
really used that widely, though. I mean, my impression was just that they pretty much used them for that initial attack,
and that's a
war going. Because I mean, you never really see or hear about strange attacks or unexplained attacks or strange vessels or anything like that.
That's true, but again, we don't hear a whole lot either. And let's be candid: in terms of technology and the ships, the Narn and the Centauri are pretty much on even footing. At least it looks that way to me. If y'all disagree, then I'll be more than willing to hear y'all out on that.
Well, I think the Narn are maybe a bit more advanced, in terms of technology, and just that they have a bigger war machine, because they've had this empire, and the empire's contracted some, but they still have a pretty significant military. Whereas the impression I have is that the Narn aren't quite their equals. That's the whole reason he's trying to, a few episodes back, Jacquard is trying to get allies to come in the war to help the Narns, because the war isn't going well for them.
Yeah, and that could be true too. So
I think I've heard it mentioned that the Centauri are winning because they're willing to do anything for victory. I mean, I think in a few episodes time where Sheridan is training with the fighter squadron and he's saying the Centauri are willing to push it to the edge, black out in the effort to make a kill. So the Centauri don't care about being nice. The mention of, was it Jakar's father being killed because he spilled a drink and tortured to death for 3 days, which is horrific.
Oh yeah.
But that's what the Centauri are prepared to do. And when you have a powerful military with that attitude, of course they're going to make gains.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So.
And I think the Narn will focus on the Centauri military first. They won't look for killing civilians. They won't look for where the Centauri have shown they've killed civilians.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, and I think for me at least, the whole situation between the Narn and the Centauri, we're going to see it deteriorate as time wears on. I mean, we're already starting to see it deteriorate to a point just from that one line of dialogue by the reporter Torkman. But the fact that the Narn are so desperate to attack right outside a station that's seemingly that is neutral territory, it does show their desperation to a point, and it's not a good look, and it's not a good look for a number of reasons. And just very quickly to the chat, D.D. Myers, good afternoon. Thank you for popping in. I think this is your first time here, so appreciate you coming by. But to kind of wrap up, because I think we've pretty much hit on the major points of this episode and the Myers stuff as well. I did like the plot thread and everything of them discussing the odds of the station surviving. And then, of course, them wrapping up with everybody's thoughts on, do they feel it's worth it? And, of course, we have Sheridan's great monologue at the very end. But I think the other great piece of dialogue comes from Garibaldi. And I don't remember it verbatim and everything, but what he had to say there, I thought was, I remember the gist of it, but I think what he had to say was just as poignant as what Sheridan had to say as well. And fellas, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that Sheridan, as Sheridan says in his speech, he talks a lot about the importance of sort of fostering peace and sort of building these relations for humanity as they spread out into the galaxy. And obviously it sounds good. But at the same time, there is this price that's going to be paid. The senator, I think, has some fair points where he says, we're really in danger of getting dragged into the middle of this Narn Centauri war. And how many humans is that going to wind up killing? And, do humans really even have a stake in this? And it's, I don't think the argument the senator has about this, maybe we shouldn't be out here, isn't necessarily all a bad one either.
Yeah, and I can understand what Senator Quantrell was trying to say there as well, because we do have. I see what he's doing. He's trying to be the pragmatist, and he's trying to toe the party line in terms of Clark's party, and trying to be kind of more Earth-centric. But at the same time, you've got the polar opposite with Sheridan and everybody else that's out there on Babylon 5 trying to create the peace, not enforce it through force, which you can't create peace that way. You can't create peace at the point of a gun. But I do understand what Quantrell was trying to say, that if Babylon 5 wasn't there, we wouldn't be involved in this conflict between the Narn and the Centauri. But at the same time, we wouldn't have the opportunity. There wouldn't be the opportunities that would come that Babylon 5 created. And at the beginning of season 3, they have the brand new intro that's done with the voiceover of Ivanova. And she says, Babylon 5 became our last best hope for victory. And I think that's a natural evolution of the station and of the show as well. Because unfortunately, everything goes to hell. You've got the war between the Nara Centauri, you've got the war with the shadows and everything. So that's the whole thrust there.
I was thinking even without the and to be fair, I had to, like, the point you raised there, I hadn't thought of it. The senator wasn't wrong. It could very easily have Sheridan did the right thing. I had the thought there that you can't enforce the peace with thing, but you can defend it. Now, my thought was it could very easily have gone when he got involved, firing on both sides. That could very easily have drawn Earth into the war had it gone any other way. Had they opened fire on the Centauri warship or the Narn warship, Earth could have become involved, and in that case, the senator was right. They wouldn't have been involved had they not been there. But still, Sheridan is right. They have to be there to give peace the chance.
Yes. Because peace is like a flame. And it needs oxygen, and it needs space to breathe and to grow. And to kind of put a analogy to it, peace can become like an inferno that drives out discord and drives out hate. And if that peace is based on a foundation that is genuine and is honest, then peace, true lasting peace, can endure. And just very quick to the chat, DD Myers. Yes, I think Babylon 5 was a great show. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here with the rest of these folks or anything since the beginning of my channel and everything talking about it. So yeah, I think Babylon 5 is one of the greatest sci-fi series ever written and ever created. I mean, the special effects may not have aged well, but the story itself and the themes have aged exceedingly well and have stood up to the test of time. So,
and often are more relevant.
Yes, I would agree wholeheartedly. Well, fellas, any final thoughts before we close?
Just one thing, the Psycor ad, which...
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that for a few minutes, sure. Yeah.
One thing, it's... JMS said it himself. The title of this episode, and now a word from our sponsor. Basically, I know for a word. It usually ends up our sponsor. The only ad shown on that was an ad for Psycor. He was implying that the sponsor of ISN, of all this going on, is Psycor. I think he mentioned that in Lurker's Guide.
Interesting. Well, and I'll just say it. That ad, can you say just pure propaganda at its best? Oh, the happy, friendly Psycop just pops into the family home and says, "Yep, you're a telepath about to come into full bloom, and we're gonna give you a place and a purpose and pay your bills for life, but you have to give up all your freedom." But they never tell you that implicitly.
Yeah, and it was terrifying. It's John, we're everywhere for your convenience.
Well,
at Sidestar, we even have mobile testing units that will come to your area.
Let me ask you all one question real quick. Towards the end of the episode, there was a flash of something. I almost thought it was like a subliminal message. Did you all catch that, or was it just me?
No, it was there. Let's see if I can find it. First time I saw that, I was going, what the hell? And it was put in there, and it was slowed down purposefully for you to notice it, but not see it. And I was trying to find that. I tried to write down the words somewhere here in the JMS Speaks. I can't find it at the moment. If you want to continue, I'll see if I can get it, because it was.
Bureau 31 actually put it in the chat.
Oh,
The Psycor's your friend. Trust the core. Bureau
Yes.
31,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Bureau 31, thank you very much.
Bureau
Appreciate that.
31, I don't know. They are involved with the things we've seen the episodes, so they would know.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
watching that commercial, what I was thinking was, I forget his name now, but the guy that plays Morden, the actor
Yeah.
playing the Psychop in that commercial, he
Oh.
reminded me of Morden a lot
You think?
Yes.
Just a little
because,
creepy.
yeah, then because they're both these like handsome, slick-looking guys, you know, and they sort of present this sort of smiling face and sort of friendly demeanor.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, we just want to be your friend and we're just here to help, you know, but they're both actually sort of, they both represent something
crap.
very sinister.
Yeah, exceedingly sinister. So, but yeah, that whole ad just put me on. Like, the first time I watched it, I was like, I smell bullcrap. And now that I'm older, oh, I don't smell it. The bullcrap is strong with this particular ad in this episode. Because we all know just how dirty and how nasty and just how double dealing the Psychor really is. So, but well, guys,
It's,
go ahead, Alicia.
No, I was just thinking the implication of the ad is telepaths, you have nowhere to hide. We're everywhere. You cannot escape us. There's nothing you can do. We know. Your friends will know. You have no hope, only to come to us to your local testing center where we'll give you a job and you can be with us for life. It's really
Creepy.
creepy, yes.
Well, guys, I think great discussion as usual. Thank you. And it's a shame Fiona had to leave early, but thank you, Fiona, for being here for as long as you could be. So, but folks, or anything, thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. Hope you all enjoyed the discussion. As usual, smash that like button, share this with your friends, our fellow B5 fans, and if you're enjoying the content and you come across this, hit that subscribe button. So. But just a quick plug for later this evening, 7 p.m. tonight. We'll be celebrating 1 year on YouTube, 1 year of the Ambassadorial Wing, and going to be doing a double header watch party. We're going to be watching the latest episode of The Mandalorian. Also going to be after that, going to be watching Monty Python: The Holy Grail. And we're going to do some karaoke after that, and we'll just see where the rest of the night, because for this particular occasion, I am doing a 12-hour stream. And
What time are you doing the Monty Python?
Don't have specific time. Just it'll be after we watch Mandalorian, and the episode I think is like 40 minutes. So we might do a little bit of discussion after the episode's done. I can't give you a real solid time and everything. I want to say maybe 8 o'clock or so, maybe 8:30. It just depends.
Okay. I'll try and show up for that.
Okay. But thank you all for Elysium Classic. Is there anything you want to plug for your channels before we close out?
Well, my channel is Classic Comics. I review comics, of course. Also review genre, film, and television as well. Put a review of the latest issue of Batman up earlier this week, and working on my review of the latest Mandalorian episode as well, which should be up hopefully later today or tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, and hey, Classic, if you want to be a part of that watch party, you're more than welcome to tune in and everything. LDG is going to have it set up where you don't even have to. Well, obviously, you have Disney Plus, but if you want to be a part of that, you're more than welcome to be. So,
Hey, what time will that be again?
Stream starts at 7. We'll start about maybe 10 or 15 minutes after, because I got a couple things I want to say, got a couple things I want to show, and then we'll get into that part of the stream.
I'll try to make it. I'm not sure if I'll be there in time or not.
If you can't, that's okay. No worries. So, Elysium, what about you? You got anything coming up for you on your end of things, or are you still working on stuff?
Now, I am still working on a few videos. I have put out the video on Narnia a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I was quite pleased with.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm working on a few videos at the moment, and honestly, also working on some world building and some writing. So I'm keeping myself busy.
Yeah. And just one more quick update, folks. Next week, I will be releasing definitely part 4, possibly parts 4 and 5 of my Star Wars fan fiction Rehu. So keep your eyes out for that and everything. I've got the script written out. I've just got to put together my images and everything, and I'll be releasing those and everything. Hopefully, 1 for sure, 2 possibly next week. So, but that all being said, folks, thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. Glad you were here, and I'll see you all later tonight. And until next time, this is the Ambassadors signing off.